My name is Joseph, and yeah. So my family came to the United States when I was 2, and I pretty much grew up in LA. It was like I went to grade school out there, and then I started getting into trouble probably when I was in 7th and 8th grade.
What junior high?
I went to Temple City for junior high. I went to Oak Avenue. So basically, when I was 11 years old, 6th grade, my stepfather passed away.
Okay.
My stepfather passed away, and he was like my main kind of like role model, right? Because my mom got divorced when I was like 2 or 3.
Okay.
So growing up, like he was like the only kind of male role model I had. And then he died of cancer when I was 11 years old. And when he died, my mom, she's like stressed out because cancer, it's expensive. A lot of medical payments, a lot of stuff like that. And my family, well, my mom and I and my grandmother, we started going through some like financial hardships because after he died, left all the bills, right? My mom had to work all the time, and I saw how stressed out she was getting, but I wasn't really able to do anything for her. It was really stressful for me also. But so basically, at that time, I lost that male figure. I didn't have anybody to look up to, and then I got into trouble for the first time in school. I brought a replica gun to school.
Okay.
And,
BB gun? Or?
Yeah, it was a BB gun, but it was like made to look really real. Right?
Okay.
And like my whole thing was I was just trying to like stand up for one of my friends. He was getting picked on. And then like movies and Tupac and Biggie and I was just trying to scare him. So I brought a replica gun to school and I got kicked out for that. So because I got kicked out, I had to live with my aunt for a while. And then it gave my mom a break.
Okay.
But going to like my aunt's house and then going to Oak Avenue, I went there with like this like chip on my shoulder, like I'm like, oh, I'm a bad boy. I kicked out of school, like I brought a BB gun or something like that. And then I got into a lot of fights.
Okay.
I got into a lot of fights when I was in junior high, and I lost most of them actually. Because I hadn't hit my growth spurt yet, but and I had a big mouth, so I got into a lot of fights. I got beat up, and a lot of times actually, I would get beat up by a gang of people, like there'd be different groups, maybe these guys hung out with these guys and these guys hung out with these guys. And I have a big mouth and I'm just talking all this and you get into shit, right? So like I got into a lot of altercations, and throughout junior high, I was like, damn, I need to be from a gang. Like I looked up to these guys, I grew up listening to Tupac and Biggie.
Okay.
I grew up with that like gangster rap, and 古惑仔, and so you combine those two, like for me, and if you want to add in like the loss of my male role model, I started looking up to a lot of these like Dailos, these big homies, these big. That image replaced my male role model image.
Yeah.
And that's what I was seeking. So after my 8th grade, I transferred back to high school in Hacienda Heights, and I went to Wilson.
Oh no.
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, you guys all know about Wilson, and in there, I finally got an opportunity to join a gang. To not be at the losing end of a lot of fights. But then like the stupid thing though that was happening was because like you're talking about 97, right?
Yeah.
That's where that's like post the FBI raids, right? Yeah. Everybody on top was taken into jail. Yeah. So then you leave like all of us out there not having any head. So there's a lot of infighting. So even though you're right, the Asians did have respect. They were starting to kind of make their place, but we didn't have anybody to answer to, and everybody wanted to be the boss, and everybody wanted to do their own thing. So there was a lot of infighting. Thinking back on it right now, man, it's so stupid, right? You have to understand that once the Dilo system disappeared, right? You have what we gather from like popular media, right? We're talking about music and music videos and following this East Coast, West Coast kind of thing, and just growing up in like LA, right? This is like where all the gangs are at, right? It's in LA, and just little bits and pieces. Yeah, you're right. There started to be a lot of like emulation to that. I remember like the first time that I touched any drug, and you hit it on the nose, right? It was with one of the older homies, right? Like after school, like they come pick us up, and then they take us to their house, and at that time it wasn't anything crazy. It was marijuana. I was like still 13.
More that.
Yeah, I was 13, almost 14 years old, and it was the chronic back then. It wasn't like today with medical weed and all that stuff or dabbing. Like it was just some chronic, and I smoked it for the first time, and I loved it. It seemed to have like filled this void or this emptiness that I had inside of me for a long time. And now that I'm older and I go back and I think about it and I process it, I think that it's attributed to like losing my stepfather, right? After he left, it left a hole. Watching my mom struggle to pay the bills, borrow money to pay the bills, and all those things, that hole got bigger and bigger and bigger. And so the first time when I smoked some marijuana, like some bud, I was like, whoa, I don't feel that void anymore. It doesn't mean that the void wasn't there, but it's just I couldn't feel that void anymore. And then slowly after that, we would hang out, we would have our house parties and stuff like that, and the other drugs popped up, right? There was ecstasy, a lot of crystal.
Yes.
A lot of crystal. And so I got turned on to crystal when I was about 14 years old. It made us feel crazy, right? It made us feel like we could do whatever we wanted.
Undefeated.
Yeah, like we felt like Superman. It was like, okay, so if it was sober me and you told me, hey, go break into that house and let's take the car or let's go take something, I'd be like, fuck no. But if you got me on ice and you were like, hey Joey, let's go, break into that house, by the time you finish that sentence, I'm already in the house, because that's what crystal does to you. And as I'm growing up in this lifestyle, I'm doing a lot of things that I'm not supposed to do. I'm doing a lot of things that are probably breaking my mom's heart, probably disappointing all my family and my friends. And I'm doing things that like I know that it's wrong, but because I wanted to belong, I wanted to feel like I was part of this group, I did it, and that hole inside of me just kept getting bigger. So I had to find something more powerful to not feel that hole anymore. And that's when I really started getting like really hardcore into like my drug lifestyle, right? It wasn't just weed, it was crystal meth, it was ecstasy, as much LSD as I could do, as I can get.
Just about everything.
Just about everything, yeah. Not Coke yet though. Coke hadn't been really introduced into the mainstream of.
Coke is too expensive.
Yeah, it was too expensive. You're absolutely
Just
right.
tell the truth.
Yeah,
You're broke, fool.
Fuck it, let's retake it, okay? We couldn't afford Coke. I had a few run-ins with the law when I was in high school. Once when I was 15 or 16, I was caught in Wilson. I got caught with some pipes and some drugs on me.
Okay.
And I had a few few busts when I was like 18.
What was that?
18.
County time.
Yeah, county time. But like it was just, it was it is what it is, you know. Just I don't know. I was scared, not about getting busted, but I was scared about like
Break your mom's heart.
hell yeah, like how was this gonna make my mom feel? Because like I didn't have a dad or I didn't have somebody else to call, so I knew it's a matter of time. I even remember telling the officer when I was like, I think I was like, yeah, I was like 15 at the time. I was like, can you just take me to jail? Can I just not have to call my mom? You know, I did. The sheriff laughed. He was like, no, sorry son, we gotta call your mom. We have to release you to her. And I remember that being the most thing that I was scared of.
Yeah, see.
Say like I got to read a lot.
Yes.
That's the one thing that I think if I were to take something positive out of all that negative, all that time wasted, I would say that I got to read, you know, because when you're behind bars, it's like there's nothing else to do, and you know, bullshitting with everybody, it gets tiring, you know, like sometimes you just want to be by yourself and read.
Everybody's fluffy.
Yeah, everybody, including myself. Yeah. Obviously, like when you first come back, you tell yourself, I'm gonna be good this time. I'm gonna do the right thing, and you try for a while, but exactly, you know, like you get a phone call, you go to the party, you go out to eat, and one thing leads to another, and just right back to it.
And somebody got drunk, there's a fight, and then there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. You know, at that time, I was actually 20. You know, when I was 20, I had a lot of like run-ins with the law. You know, police were coming to my house, looking for me. I don't even know what for, right? You know, there's other gangs coming to my house, doing drive-bys, right? And I was very, very high. You know, I was probably, you know, doing a lot of things that I shouldn't have been doing. And my mom just gave me two choices. She was like, if you stay here, you're gonna die, or you're gonna get arrested for a long time. And after she told me that, she said, you have a choice. You can go to Taiwan and be with your dad and our family in Taiwan, or you can go to school in China. So I thought about it. It's like, go to Taiwan or go to China. I want to go to China. So I went to school in China for about a year.
What city?
Beijing.
Oh.
It was Beijing.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, I went to Tsinghua. I went to Tsinghua. Yeah, it cost a lot of money. It's not because I was smart. It was because, you know, they. And then I went there for like 2 semesters. So I went there for 2 semesters, and because it cost so much money to put me there, I kind of had this conversation with my mom at the end of my 2nd semester. And I told her, Mom, you know what? I'm 21 now, almost 22. I'm not meant for school. I was like, save your money, you know? I'm gonna go figure some things out for myself. And at that time, you know, I started selling drugs. You know, like I was in China, where there's no gang there at all yet, except by, you know, a very few people. And coming from LA, I thought I was like the smartest guy in the world, you know, like I went there and I started trying to set up my own infrastructure, set up my own little, and at that time, I'm still a child almost, you know, like I'm 21 years old. Like I'm still a youngster. Like the real guys there aren't gonna really fuck with me. But in my own mind, I thought I was the shit, right? Like because I'm selling the drug. So I remember, you know, like I thought I was like this hot shot, right? Like I'm selling the drugs, I'm selling coke, and I'm selling like pills and weed to like the college students in like high entry, you know, like
Okay.
at that time I'm just like, oh my god, I'm like Pablo Escobar or some shit, right? Like I'm doing that. Quickly, I got into selling heroin, which was a, you know, like it wasn't a good thing, but I remember the first time taking a fucking train all the way to like Inner Mongolia to meet the person, and then taking the train all the way back to start breaking up the package, you know, and that's what I was doing for like 3-4 years, and I was making, you know, a lot of money doing it.
Yeah.
In 2008, everybody on like a global level knows that the economy crashed. And once that happened, and when Beijing, when they say that they're surrounding the perimeter and they're closing it up, they're doing that, right? That's also the time when the Olympics was coming to Beijing.
Yes.
So even more so, they're trying to make the city look like uh, uh, it's not like this freak show, right? It's not
Yeah.
all that. So then all my channels for drugs disappeared. Nothing was coming in, and quickly I had no money coming in, a lot of money going out, and I got broke. I became broke, you know, and I found myself sleeping on the couch at one of my friend's house for a few months before I was like, dude, I can't go on like this. But you know what you're gonna do? You're gonna get a job in China working for like 1,000 RMB a month or 2,000 RMB a month. Can't live on that. We did get raided once in China, and like my roommate, my partner, he got busted on the streets selling, and the police made him take them back to the house. And then when they came to the house, fucking idiot gives him the combination to the safe, and then they came in and then they opened up the safe, and there's just like a brick of heroin. You got like 1,000 something pills of ecstasy.
出不来了。
Yeah. And that's what me and my buddy, we thought, like, we're fucked. Like I was thinking about that. I was like, when I was getting taken to the police station, I was like, man, the next time I call my mom, it's gonna be the last time
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk to her, because you hear that, right? So like we got busted, and I'm in the police cell,
Holding tank.
and the funny thing is they left me with my phone, right? Because I'm guessing that's like, if you know anybody that can get you out of this situation, you better fucking call them right now, you know? That's kind of like the message I'm getting. And on top of that, my partner, my friend, he's actually like my best friend at the time. He took all the blame.
Oh man.
He told the police that I didn't know that the drugs were in there, that I had nothing to do with it, that he was the one, in fact, that was selling the drugs. And I remember the police coming back to my cell, like, okay, you're free to go. I was like, what do you mean I'm free to go? You know, like I think I'm gonna get executed already.
Good luck.
But they took me out, and at that time, you know, I saw my friend. He had tears in his eyes, and he was like, you know, Joey, I'm so sorry, you know. But he's like, I told him it's all mine, and I had tears in my eyes too. I was like, what the fuck are you doing, right? Like I have a better chance of surviving this than you do, right? Like I'm from the U.S. You're from Africa, you know. Like that was what I was going through my mind, and he was just, you know, he took it.
But
And
if you got out?
no, so later on I find out that he was executed.
Yeah.
Again, that void inside, it's getting bigger and bigger, and crystal meth and cocaine and all that. That doesn't cover it anymore.
Yeah.
I was ready for H, you know, for the big H.
Mr.
Like,
Bronston.
you know, and I started using it in a very bad way. The first thing I remember going to our safe house where we stashed everything, and I took out, you know, a brick of what we had, and I just opened it, and I just started
Did you ever get OD? Overdose?
I mean,
To the hospital?
no.
Jesus really loved you.
I mean, yeah, and you have to understand that, and a lot of times I was trying to OD. So in Taiwan, right? Like again, it's the same old story. I try to do a normal job. Right? I try to get a normal job, working in a company,
Okay.
and I mean they pay you shit in Taiwan,
And
right?
Rich called no.
Yeah, you know, like they don't pay you right, and you know the nightlife in Taiwan is very expensive. So talking about like going out to like a Jodian, one night might be like 30, 50,000 NT, right? For like my entire month's salary was like 26,000.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at that time it's like you have no other choice but to find another way
Yeah.
to make money. Yeah. And so I started to sell marijuana in Taiwan. That was definitely how we got busted. 2009. I got arrested with 10 kilos of marijuana at the custom. I did do time in Taiwan,
Kaohsiung.
all over actually,
Why?
because I'm an American citizen, right? So I'm what they call like dual citizenship, and also at the same time, like not many prisons want to
Yeah.
handle the foreigners,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so they kept sending me to like different prisons, you know, until finally I landed in Jiayi,
Okay.
and that's where I spent most of my time.
How is it in Taiwan? Taiwan jail?
I mean, it taught me how to speak Taiwanese, right? Like it taught me how to read Chinese. I did like almost 3 years. You know, you go to like Taiwan prison, you come out, you're like, oh, I'm Hiati, you know, like I'm gonna be in this for life, right? So,
Yeah.
but I remember telling myself I will never sell drugs ever again. That was a vow that I made to God. I was like, you know what, God, you. So going back, okay, so I got arrested in Taiwan, and I remember at that time being allowed one visit from my lawyer, and so, and my aunt came also, and I remember my aunt told me, she was like, your father, and that's my real dad, my biological father, so when he found out that you got arrested, he had a stroke.
Oh.
And so I remember that time so, like, it's like, 很深, you know, it was like, wow, what garbage I am. 我是一个不孝子, you know, I not only break my mom's heart over and over again, but I literally gave my dad a stroke, and I was so brokenhearted. I remember the officer bringing me back to my cell, and I had tears in my eyes. I was devastated, and I even asked him. I was like, you know, 主管, 可以给我1-2分钟, you know. And I remember being in there, and I grew up a Christian, you know, like I'm like third generation, and I remember there my aunt had given me a Bible, and I had the Bible in my hand, and I prayed to God, and I was like, God, you know, please don't let my dad die. Please, you know, keep him alive so I can see him one more time. And I remember telling him, I promise I will never sell drugs ever again.
Mm.
Yeah. This is like literally like the first time that I had like a real conversation with God, because you have nothing but yourself, and I did tell him, I was like, God, if you keep my dad alive, I promise I will never sell drugs again. And when I got out of prison, my dad was alive, and he was immobile. He had had a stroke, obviously, so he lost function. But I was able to see him again, and then I always remembered that. I always remembered that promise, though. But that was only a promise not to sell drugs. It wasn't a promise I wouldn't do drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And coming out of prison, coming back, I started getting really high again. Anything I can get my hands on, actually, because it was to a point where I was surrounded by like evil spirits. I felt like I was going crazy. When I was in Taiwan and I was doing a lot of drugs, I was having conversations with people that weren't even there. I really remember this like really well. It was this game, between the LA Lakers and the Boston Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember inviting all my friends to come over and to watch the game. And like I was getting my friend a glass of orange juice. And then when I brought the orange juice to him, everybody disappeared. And I realized that the entire time I was talking to myself. And then that scared me, right? Like I was like, whoa, how many days has this been going on? Because in my memory at that time, I was doing a lot of stuff. I was bringing this to over there. I was making sure that this happened over there. And there's like this whole like schedule of things that I was doing. But I realized at that point that it could have possibly all been fake.
Imaginary friends.
Yeah. And that scared me, and that's when I called, Michael Tan. Yeah, I called him, and I think the only reason I called him was because he was like the only one at that time that I knew who was like openly a Christian, right? Everybody else was like Buddhist. Everybody else they didn't know, but Mike was like, no, I'm a Christian, and he was still like, I'm, in the thug life and all that shit, and I remember he came over and he prayed for me, and that was actually what I was asking for. I was like, yo, Playboy, I need you to come over like right now. He's like, what the fuck? What's wrong with you? I was like, I'll explain it to you when you get here. And when he got there, I explained to him what was going on, and the first thing he said, he was like, bro, let me pray for you. And I remember him praying for me, and it made me feel better. It made me feel better than I felt for a long time. And I started going back to church. I started to, get involved more with my family. And so like I'm in this mix of like trying to live the gang life, but it's conflicting with what's happening in my heart. Because I think at this time, God, the Lord Jesus, he's removing this veil from me. And he's allowing me to see that there's this hole. And I can no longer cover up this hole with drugs. I can only fill it with him. And so I started to chase him. And I remember one day watching this sermon. It was like Frank Chan or something. He was giving this sermon, and he was just talking about God's love, and and His mercy and His grace, and I remember being overwhelmed, and it was like the first time that I was like, no. I went into my bathroom and I got on my knees and I gave my life for the first time to God. I was like, you know what, God, I want to serve you. You have my life. I don't want to do this gang stuff anymore. I don't want to do drugs anymore. I don't want to be a part of anything that has to do with death. I want to chase you. I want to chase life. And I remember I got tears in my eyes the first time. I was just like, wow. And after that, it's just moments after moments of these situations where I'm brought to the Spirit. And so there was this one time I was talking to like the older homies, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go to church. I thought I wanted to become a pastor. He's like, you'll be like Kenny, he's like, Crazy Kenny's a pastor now. And I was like, I didn't say anything, but I was like, what? I was like, he's a pastor? And so I went up to Facebook and I saw, I hit you up. I was like, yo, Kenga. And you're like, well, what's up? I was like, you're a pastor now? He's like, well, no, I'm almost one. I'm still studying, right? I'm still taking my thing. But he's like, come to a group. And then I was like, okay, cool. So he gave me the address, and I was like, fuck, dude, it's at the club. I was like, what kind of place is this to have church, right? Like, whatever's, And so I went up and I went to your little VIP section and I saw you, and then you're like, all right, I'm gonna go up, and then you went down and you were giving your testimony and you were praying, and I remember them saying, after, it says, if any of you were moved or touched and want to give your life to God, then come down to the stage. And I was like, I gotta go. I was like, he did it, right? Like he was like the biggest gangster in the world, and now he's a pastor. And I was like, he did it. And I was like, whatever he's doing, that's what I want to do. And so I went down there, and I remember it's probably like one of the first times you prayed over me, and then I was like, wow, that was a big moment. And so now I had like my way out. I would be like, yeah, I'm gonna be like Fonzie Kenny. It was still a model. It was like you were literally like the biggest gangster and like the craziest one, and you left it all and you went to go chase God. And I was like, fuck, that's what I want to fucking do. So I would come to the small groups. And then I had my church and the church that you belong to, but it wasn't about the churches, right? It was about that you were actually doing it. And that inspired me. And so I kept trying to chase God whatever way I knew how. And it ended up leading me back to Los Angeles. It had me falling a few more times, until finally the very last time. And that's what I was talking about earlier. I had already given my life to God. I had already told him, like, Lord, you have me. You have me, I belong to you. Like, you freed me from death, and here I am willing to go back into chains. I'm willing to serve you. And I was doing that for a while, until I wasn't. Until I fucked up, and I got high with get this, it wasn't like with one of the homies, but I got high with somebody I was shepherding, somebody I was preaching the gospel to.
Well,
and we got high together. And at that time, the devil he came into my head and he started like really whispering these things in my ear. He's like, I thought you were a servant of God. I thought you loved Jesus. I thought you da-da-da. And he started telling me these things, and I was like, he's right. After I knew the glory and the power of Christ, I still chose the world, and I chose this fucking garbage, this crystal meth, this heroin, I was like, I'm not qualified to serve God.
That's a lie, though.
I know. I was like, I'm not worthy to serve God. And so this was the time where I moved from smoking to injecting, because I wanted to die. It was like I didn't want to live anymore. I remember being parked in an alley, fixing up my rig and my needle, and even praying, God, let this one be it.
Struggle.
I was like, let me go. Let me go. I'm not even worthy to see your face. I'm not even worthy to be in your presence. Just let me go. I wanted to die, but it would never happen. And you have to understand, I mean, I know you guys are fucking crazy, but it's not like I ever had a problem like, making money or having drugs. I always had a lot of it, and I was literally trying to fit as much drugs as I can in a needle. I can't put no more, but it would never, I would never die. And it just, little by little, he had a plan for me. And his plan for me was to go to treatment. Because I remember being on probation, the judge, I was down to go to jail. I was like, fuck it, whatever, go to jail again, it's the same shit, right?
Yeah.
But this Judge Jared Moses from Alhambra, he wouldn't let me. He was like, no, Joseph, I'm going to push back your court date one more month, and during this month, I want you to find treatment. I want you to find a treatment center to go to.
That's good.
Yeah. So I looked and I was like, okay, well, I guess I have one more month to party, one more month to get high. I found one, looked pretty nice. It was by the beach, it was in like I don't know, like Palm Beach or something. It's where Trump has his Mar-a-Lago hotel or something, I was like, okay, cool, because that's what I want to do. I want to do luxury rehab, and my insurance covered, so I went. And when I first got there, it looked like it was pretty decent and legit and all that, but as I got there and I realized, I was like, these people here don't give a fuck about us, right? They don't care about us, because going there already, I want to get better. I want to know what is wrong with me. Why is it whenever my life is so good, why do I keep destroying it? Why do I keep going back to drugs? Why can't I just say no? I wanted to figure these things out. So I wanted to see a therapist. I wanted to, whatever needed to happen, but I didn't get it there. To see my therapist, I had to every day go there and be like, yo, can I see someone? Can I see someone? But they would just send me to an NA group. They would send me to an A group. Until finally I realized these people here don't give a fuck. They don't care. So I shut down. And I was like, okay, whatever. But man, Jesus, man, he it's like my third day in treatment, and I woke up and I started feeling a lot normal, and I could think again. And I just started to call his name. I was like, oh Lord. I was like, Lord Jesus. And I remember the second I said his name out, my hair all on my body stood up. And I was like, whoa. And I was like, Lord Jesus, again. And this time I started feeling like the Spirit again, until finally I just screamed it. I was like, Lord Jesus, in my room. My roommates think that I'm fucking having a a breakdown or something is happening, and like I felt him. I felt his presence again. That void inside of me, it got filled up. And so I started having this conversation with him more and more. And I was like, Lord, how do I put the old me to death? How do I become this new creation? How do I, say goodbye to this old version of myself so that I would be someone who could be called and chosen and worthy of you? And he started talking to me, and he started putting it into my heart to pray for my roommates, right? To teach him some of the stuff that I learned. And I did that. And I started seeing more and more people come to my room. Started seeing more people coming in because they wanted to pray either for their children or for their mother and for their family or for their wife or girlfriend or whatever, for themselves. People just wanted someone to talk to. And then the Lord really spoke to my heart, and he was showing me that this was what he wanted me to do. He was telling me, he was like, Joey, all the suffering and all the pain, it's to fulfill my purpose.
Amen.
And when I felt that in my heart, I was like, then it was all worth it. I was like, amen, right? But dude, yeah, cut this shit out. So I was like three classes away from completing my construction management license. But after that revelation, I was like, no, I want to go finish my studies in psychology. And I started to get into the process of setting up, Recovery Revelations. And here at Recovery Revelations, we believe in raising that standard of care.
What did you provide?
We provide an executive chef who cooks 3 meals a day for you. All of our staff are trained and registered alcohol and drug technicians. We have a doctor. We have 2 doctors actually on staff. We have a health and fitness coach here that will help you to reach all of your goals. There's many ways to contact us. One, you can reach us online at recoveryrevelations.com. You can also go to our Facebook page, go on to Messenger, right? You can call us. So being Chinese American, our families, they don't understand kind of what we go through growing up out here in America. Because drugs are just so abundant out here, so available. It's part of the mainstream culture. And when our parents or our family members, they find out that we're addicted to drugs, it's not something they want to talk about. It's not something that they want us to talk about. A lot of times it's being swept under the rug. It wasn't until I was 32 before my mom really confronted and really accepted that I was sick, that something was wrong with me. And this is not just happening in my house. This happens, I'm pretty sure, in a lot of houses where the parents, they don't understand. They don't know what it's like, because they're coming from a different place. right? Taiwan, right? You talk about Hong Kong and
Different culture.
China. It's a different way of growing up. Drugs aren't as available as they are now, and we get addicted. We do get high, and we do lose our way. But we can find our way back, right? And what we want to do here at Recovery Revelations is we want to offer that option, right? If you don't speak English, and because so much treatment out here is all English based, well, we have a Chinese curriculum. We do have a Chinese program. We have counselors here who can guide you and mentor you and help you with Chinese. Mom, I love you. Thank you for always being so supportive of me. Thank you for always being by my side. And I'm sorry for all the trouble I caused you. And Ada, Ama, Joshua, I love you guys. Everything I do is for you guys. Michelle, I love you. And thank you for believing in me. And to all my homies, if you guys, want to stop, need some help, just give me a call. I got you.